Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth alongside Phil Duvall.
Hi.
Today, say hi, Phil.
Hi, Phil.
Today, we're going to be talking a bit about the movie Argo. Phil has a story that he has not yet told me about his viewing experience. I'm very excited to hear it, and if it's terrible, I will defriend him on Facebook. Then we're going to talk about, sort of in general, obviously tied into Argo, we're going to talk about movies in general that are based on actual or true events. And then we'll end this evening by talking about where we see Second Breakfast going in the coming weeks, months, years, decades, and millennia.
Oh.
Yes. So, because I don't know about Phil, but I plan on living forever.
I'm gonna live forever. Sorry.
No, no, no.
It's a
Phil,
Billy Joe Shaver song. He's the poet laureate of Texas. Get it together.
you know what? I clap at Deep in the Heart of Texas. Okay, I'm done. That's what I'm required to do by law. Phil,
You know,
Argo.
if just the sheer minimum amount is enough, then I guess that's fine for you. But some of us choose to wear 28 pieces of flair.
Oh man, I'm going to tell you exactly what you can do with your flair, but this is ostensibly a family podcast.
I
So,
know this is for the kids. Before we do anything, Andy, I have something I'd like to say to you.
oh god, go ahead.
The stars at night are big and bright. Okay, deep. Okay, good. Just want to make sure. Just want to make sure that we were clear on
Are
the
you
rules.
calling me out? Did you think I'm lying?
No, I just like making you do things like a monkey.
You know what? Oh man. Oh, Second
Okay,
Breakfast
so here's
podcast.
my story about Argo. We went and
No,
saw
no.
we went.
Subtitled Pulling Teeth. Second Breakfast. Subtitled Pulling Teeth.
By the
Go.
way, okay, have you ever heard of a cheat day? Have you ever heard of a cheat day on a diet?
Oh, so not like with, your girlfriend?
Oh, those don't exist, my friend.
Yes, I have. I
I
have
read
heard
the
of. I
fine
have heard
print.
of.
I read the fine print of the wedding license, and those don't exist.
No, no. I've
Uh,
heard of. I've heard of cheat day. Please.
So my wife and I've been we've been doing this diet with the cheat day, and today is not the cheat day, but today did not go well for me at all. And someone sent me a box of Girl Scout cookies in the mail. Actually, 4 boxes.
How many are left?
No, there's like 3.5. There's mostly still left.
Okay, good.
But but the point is, I gave up, and when you give up on a day, and it's like I immediately feel like I've gained 20 pounds in one day. Like I just feel like I was looking at my little picture down here, and I was like, so fat.
Well, I have to say, you're looking a little jowly.
Oh
Um,
God, don't.
Viewers, what I've just done is throw him off his game for the next 45 minutes.
Hold on. Okay, I'm gonna do the whole show like this. All right. So this story is probably not as good as I thought it was when I first. Okay, I wanted to tell you the story. As I was walking out of the movie theaters from when I saw Argo. So I hope that it translates. So we saw Argo. My wife and I saw Argo date night. Great movie.
Sure.
We're not really going to review the movie on the show. We're going to talk about other things. But we both. It was one of those things. Andy sent me. You sent me the preview when the preview showed up. Like when it showed up on the trailer showed up online.
I remember. I remember.
As is the custom now, because no one ever sees trailers. And by the time the trailers are in the movie theaters, we've seen the trailers online 1,000 times.
Which is
So
a little disappointing. So go ahead.
it is disappointing, but that's fine. When you see a trailer that you haven't seen before and you're in the movie theater, though, you're like, how did this happen? And it's like,
Right.
it's like
Right.
great, you're not even mad. You're like, it happened. Like it's like Disneyland in your heart for a couple minutes. So, anyways, Andy you sent me the preview for Argo a while back, and you were like, so here is going to be one of the greatest things ever. And I was like, and then it was fantastic, and I loved it, and you loved it, and it was one of those things where the whole time I was watching it, I was waiting to be disappointed. Because I
Yeah.
was like, I can't live up to this, and because you can basically, when you watch the trailer, you basically get the whole story. Like you basically, there are spoilers, kind of, I could give away, but really, not really. I mean,
Totally.
and,
Totally.
and yet taught, just such a really well done. Loved it, and Ben Affleck is a great director. It turns out.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
totally.
The Town was one of my favorite movies of a couple years ago.
Mhm.
So anyways, seeing Argo, phenomenal movie. Everybody smokes. I want to talk about that with you at some point. And I'm always fascinated now with cigarettes in films. I don't smoke. I've never smoked a cigarette, but I'm always fascinated by cigarettes in films. So, anyways,
Viewers, Phil is more of a peyote man. Proceed. Go ahead.
okay, hold on. Oh, okay. So we're watching the movie. It gets to the scene where they're at the airport about to leave or trying to
Right?
get to leave to the most one of the most suspenseful things I've seen in a really long time.
Yeah,
Like, like
there's not a lot of breathing going on in the
no, no,
audience
no.
during that scene.
And all of a sudden, like it shoots to or cuts to these like the guards, the Iranian guards
Hmm.
in that stop the Americans at the airport,
Right?
and literally like 50 people in the movie theater that I'm in, jam-packed movie theater, Southern California, on a Friday night, just erupt in applause. Right, right. And I was like,
What?
well, that was weird. The most suspenseful thing. Nothing has happened. And then I go, and then it cuts away, and and someone yells something like I don't know what they yell, and I was like, okay, but not like in an angry way, like in a sort of like yeah, and I was like, okay, and then it cuts back again to the guards, and they clap again, and then I go, I got it. It hits me. Either the actor is in the audience,
Right?
or his family's in the audience. And then it double hits me. We're in Irvine, which is a town in Southern California, hometown of Will Ferrell. Thank you very much. I say thank you as if
Congratulations.
I birthed him. And Irvine has a very large Persian population. Has a very large Persian population,
Sure.
and consequently delicious Persian food in Irvine. So it dawns on me 3/4 of the way through this movie that we got a ton of Iranian immigrants in the movie theater right now, which was really, I don't know why all of a sudden it made me like rewind the entire movie while the movie's still going on. It
Okay.
also, I was like, you are all clapping joyously during the most intense scene of the movie, and I need you guys to get back in the game. Like, I need you guys. I appreciate your enthusiasm for your friend slash brother who might actually be in the audience, but I need you guys to lock it down because this movie is too intense. And you're
Right.
clapping.
Congratulate him on his SAG
Right,
card
right, right,
later.
right, right, right. So they clap, and it was like so. But then I start thinking about the movie, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, and then of course they show his name at the end of the credits, and they clap again, and I'm like, okay, so that was definitely it. And then when we're leaving, I see, of course, a ton of not a ton, but I see a lot of Persian people around, and they're like, I could see they're sort of gathering around somebody, and I just kind of moved on because it's not, I wasn't like, oh, like I was going to see him and get something out of it, but it was kind of cool. It was a neat thing, but it was like it made me realize the movie is really it doesn't go one way or the other about the Iranian situation, other than like it kind of makes you think that the dictator they kicked out, that the Americans placed in there, was probably not the best guy, and it mentions the fact that a lot of these Iranian people who were friends with the dictator flee to America during the overthrow, and so I'm thinking like. You mean all the people that are like the parents of the people I'm in the movie theater with right now? And so it just
Nice.
kind of made me think like, I mean, it doesn't really draw judgment, but it really made me think about the cultural implications of the movie in a totally different way. And it's a movie that is not really about that. That's not really what the movie's about. But it was really thick in that room all of a sudden for me, like, and it was like 3/4 of the way through. I was like, what was this movie? I had to rethink the entire movie. Based on the fact that I realized after the fact or towards the end that I had seen the entire movie with a predominantly Iranian immigrant, Persian immigrant crew. And it was just really weird. And I left, and it because I already loved the movie, and I was all jazzed and pumped for the movie. By the way, incidentally, when at the climax of the film, everybody clapped. And then when the credits started rolling, not just the Iranian people, everybody, and it was one of those also things at the end of the movie. At the end of the movie, everybody clapped. How do you feel about people clapping at movie theaters?
I think if it's something that honestly moves you to clap, you go ahead and you clap. I think I think that it is not less legitimate because the people involved in making the movie, with the exception of your friend in the audience with you,
Right.
I don't think it makes it any less legitimate that they're not there to hear it.
Yeah,
I think
I get a little. Yeah. Well, it's funny because we were both in theater, and in theater, when people clap, it is a way, and in concerts and stuff, it is a way for them to show appreciation to you. And so
That's
the
true.
applause is actually about the interaction. But when you're in a movie theater and you clap, it literally is just for ourselves. It is no sort of, it is no
That's
sort of
true.
bearing.
I will refer you, and this is an embarrassing story, but it is embarrassing for the both of us. And I know you know the story,
Oh
but
no, you're not. You're
our
not going to
viewers
tell the
don't.
story, Andy. At least 8 people are going to watch this thing. At least
Well
8
then,
people.
at least 7 of them haven't heard it.
I already know exactly which story you're going to tell. Go ahead.
Opening day of the first Lord of the Rings movie, Fellowship of the Ring, comes out 2001
Yes.
December.
Yes.
Phil and I go to see it in Boston.
Yes.
We get to the point where, stuff's getting real at the end, and like everyone in the world is fighting everyone else in the world,
Yes.
except for hobbits who are, running away.
Run away.
And Legolas comes out and it's the first time. I mean, now it's sort of old hat, like, oh, there goes Legolas being an awesome archer, blah blah blah. But this was
the first time.
that we really saw him like in full battle mode,
Yeah.
and he was just like whoosh, boom, whoosh, boom, whoosh, boom, whoosh, boom, like
Yes.
6 or 7
Yes.
6 or 7 arrows in a row.
Right.
And Phil and I confirmed this with him later, that we were clapping for the same reason, because we both started clapping, and we were not by any stretch the only people in the audience doing it. It was the majority of the audience.
Yes.
But it wasn't like clapping. It was like it was like involuntary. It was like,
Yeah, no, we didn't. Like, I remember not hearing clapping, and then looking down and realize I was the one
part of the clapping.
Like, I was like,
And our justification for doing this, independent of each other,
Yeah.
inside our own heads, and I confirmed this with him later, we weren't clapping to necessarily show appreciation. We weren't clapping even necessarily because we were enjoying it. It was like Legolas is killing orcs with his bow and arrow, and we are killing them with our clapping.
Right, like drawing. It's like he drew it out of us. Like, and now I shall make you applaud. And we were like, ah. Yes.
That's a long way of saying, Phil, there are many reasons why people clap in
But when people clap during the open, and when people clap at the end of credits or at the beginning of the credits, it's interesting to me because it is like the old habit of being in the theater or going to the concert or something, and it's like the show is over and so we clap. And there's something about it that on one, it depends on my mood. It says more about me than it says about the people, because if I'm in the wrong mood, or if I don't care much about the movie, or if I really have to go to the bathroom, and people start to clap, I'm like, yeah, no one's here to hear it. Move on. Like, I'm like, idiots. Like, so
I gotta pee.
cynical. Yeah, just like, But other times I'm like, yeah, that's right. We clap. That's right. Like, it makes me so, like, I don't know. So it says way more about me than it says. So long story short, that Argo story, I guess it wasn't a very good story, but it was a really, I don't know. It made it feel like an experience, and I feel like movies in themselves can be experiences. People like you and I love going to the movies, but a lot of times it's almost more like, oh, I got to go to the movies. Why? And that's because what we do. and we'll
Right,
see things,
right, and
we'll
it
see things
reminded you of why that
we'll
is.
see things we don't care for, and we'll know going into them like I'm not really gonna care about this, but I gotta go to the movies,
Right,
like I gotta breathe,
right.
so we go. And so it was kind of cool because it like kicked it up a notch. Like I felt like we were participating in something all of a sudden, like that it was a communal event because somebody in the movie was there, because there were a lot of Persians for whom this was at least an element, an aspect, a part of their story. And it made me
That's really
think twice
it's
about
really interesting that you say that. I had a similar the last experience I had that was cultural in that way actually was with another Persian film. I saw it. I was it was shown on campus a couple years ago by like the Persian Society of Duke or whatever, and it was Persepolis, that
Yeah,
anime
yes.
came out.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Let me tell you how artsy I was. I was visiting you in New York when you were working at that restaurant,
Yes.
and I had extra time, so I walked up. I think I walked over to the what is the name of that artsy theater in New York near Columbia? Artsy theater. The I'll look
Near
it up.
Columbia.
Starts with an A. Not near Columbia. I'm sorry, near NYU. I'm not from New York. Starts with an A. The okay. Anyways,
Nope.
and went,
Move on.
walked up, looked at what was playing next, and walked into the artsy New York theater and watched an Iranian cartoon. Is there anyone artsier than I was in that moment?
Phil, I am disappointed in you that you have not always worn a beret since that moment, because
They handed them out, which
that's
is
it.
weird because they totally handed them out at the door.
And smoked cigarettes, but only through the
Yeah.
long cigarette holders. Yes, like you're like for some reason I just made you like a femme fatale in like a Gene Kelly dance sequence. I'm not quite sure why I did that, but
I deserved it. I deserved it.
congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to talk about something else that you brought up with Argo though.
The Angelica movie theater with a K. The Angelica.
Nice. Yes.
And it's not the
Well
first
done.
time I've been there. I've never lived in New York, and I've been to the Angelica like 3 or 4 times. Sorry.
Solid call.
Continue.
What I think, well, I enjoyed everything about the movie, so it's hard to say what I enjoyed most. But something that I really appreciated was that, I mean, you know, you come into this movie as an American, or at least the two of us do, and right off the bat, you have that opening segment that is like, just so you know, guys, the Islamic Revolution was not replacing Gandhi here. He was not, you know, and so it sort of knocks you back because while I mean I have Muslim friends. I think most people have Muslim friends, but that's not it. It's not about the
Do
fact
most
that
people have Muslim friends?
I hope so. Moving on.
Continue.
It's not about the fact that they're Muslim. It's about the fact they took people hostage, and like that's not something that we like. We don't like it when people hold other people against their will. That's kind of a thing. And so you walk in and you're predisposed to not to feel a certain way.
Right.
And with that opening segment, that cartoon, it was animated, largely.
Yes.
And with the fact that it immediately goes from that to it's almost, I don't want to dwell on this, it's almost like a zombie horde outside. They are faceless. They are faceless. They are meaningless individually, but they are horribly threatening as a group. And it goes from that, and it shows them breaking into the embassy, and then all of a sudden you're in the Canadian ambassador's house. With of course cuts back and forth to Ben Affleck's character when he's still in America. But what that does is it takes it out of politicizing it almost completely. I mean, it could have been a fictional account of the time when Luxembourg took a lot of people hostage. Like it didn't matter the truth of the situation. I know we're going to talk about this more later, but like the facts of the situation didn't matter. It was
I
all
honestly
about
wish
those
that
people
the
in the
truth would
house.
come out. I wish that the truth would come out about the way that the Luxembourgians have treated America.
They're
Because
honestly,
I think that it's they're white Western Europeans, and so we have just ignored the
we,
reality
we have
of
ignored
the
the
oppression
rising
that America
Luxembourgish
has
threat.
felt under the thumb, Luxembourg.
Ugh.
No, I agree.
Uh,
I thought they did a really good job of making it about the humans and not about Go America
yes.
or Go anyone else for that matter.
Yeah.
Although it is really fascinating that it completely ignores and completely ignores the fact that this whole thing was basically a partnership between American and Canadian uh, government from the beginning. In the movie, it actually just completely ignores that, and it's all about America.
Right.
And they even make a joke about like Canada, like they did anything. Like that was actually in the movie, except that actually Canada was about 50-50 on the whole thing. Canada
Right.
was huge.
Right.
So
And
that's kind
even if they weren't, still their ambassador putting his butt on the line. I mean,
of,
there's still that. It's not like
yeah,
like
throw 'em a bone, people. Throw 'em a bone.
right, like I showed up 36 hours ago and saved everybody. You only hid them for weeks. Oh, wait, that's actually pretty impressive. And of course, all of the things that your government did that we didn't put in the movie. We'll get there. Um, let's talk. Let's talk about the acting, because you know what I enjoyed.
Okay.
I mean, I enjoyed everyone's acting, but I enjoyed seeing Bryan Cranston not play a dirtbag.
It's so, we forget because he became famous to our generation through Malcolm in the Middle.
Right?
And he's so lovable and goofy, and he has come. I can't think of someone who has more radically altered the way you think of them than Bryan Cranston because of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And it is and because Breaking Bad is so unrelenting in its descent, as far as this is a story about a guy who starts out okay or not so bad and becomes evil, and it is that simple. And the creator has said that, and they said we're going to start here and take you down, and
Yeah,
that's going
the
to
thing he
go.
keeps saying is, I wanted to take Mr. Chips and make him Scarface.
That's right, right, and they're doing it. And it's that simple,
Yes,
and it's
absolutely.
like Argo. They say this is where we're going to take you, and then they do it, and you're
Yeah,
like, okay.
yeah,
But because of that, yeah, Bryan Cranston has been. I mean, he's just terrifying, and so it's
right.
great. And then he was in Little Miss Sunshine. He was kind of a dirtbag, and so they've kind of been throwing him these dirtbag roles because he knows how to do that sort of smug voice. But it was just, you're right. It was so much fun to just have him around.
Yeah,
By
and
the way, he directed this last week's episode of The Office, and my wife and I watched it today, and I go, oh hey honey, Bryan Cranston directed this episode, and she just looks at me and goes, does that mean it's actually going to be funny?
was the answer no?
Of
Was
course,
the
the
answer
answer was
no?
no. There were good moments. There were good moments. It's
I
like,
don't. Phil, I love you. I could not be less interested in hearing about this week's episode of The Office. Sorry, viewers
no,
who
it's
are
fine.
still,
No, it's fine.
wondering if Pam and Jim are going to have their 12th kid, or whatever they're
Listen. If
doing.
if you don't think it's funny, that's fine. But come on, don't be disrespectful. That's
I kid because I love. I do enjoy the
Pam and
show.
Jim are the only reason to watch the show anymore. Pam and Jim are the only reason to watch the show anymore.
Fair enough. I can easily believe that. The scenes out in Hollywood.
Yes.
The
Pure glee, pure joy.
I will say this: there is a joke involving, and I don't want to spoil it for you. It's spoiled in some reviews. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it is a joke about the Writers Guild of America, and I was literally the only person in the theater that laughed. I was like, and I was.
If you were in New York, a ton of people would be laughing. But
I understand.
You live in North Carolina now. People are just like,
No one laughing. It was literally, I was the guy in the Polaner all fruit commercial who says, "Would you please pass the jelly?" That was me, and like the record scratched, and people like, Why is he laughing? I'm like, I'm not laughing anymore.
Never mind. Can I tell you? Can I tell you about the one time that I really was the person? I mean, I laugh loud, and so I'll be the only one laughing. Something. But like one time when I was the only one laughing and literally like got dirty looks for it.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Fargo comes out. I'm what 16 or 17 when that movie comes out. I think I'm 16. Sure. And it's the scene with the wood chipper where they're wood chipping, where he kills the guy and then he's wood chipping him, and like you see the foot, like he's trying to jam the foot down with a log. And I'm in Orange County, California, watching this movie, and I just start laughing hysterically, dead silent in the room, like dead silent, and I'm laughing, and then I like look around and I see the eyes like kids, no respect for life.
Oh, man. Yeah. And in 10 years, kids will be texting on their phones during the movie, and the bright light will bother me. Which, I mean, annoys the crap out of me.
I hate that so deeply.
Right.
I hate it so much.
But that's awesome. I'm really glad that happened for you.
Everything in the Hollywood scene. I mean, John Goodman and Alan Arkin, their chemistry is fantastic.
So good. So good.
And you can tell Ben Affleck's having fun when he does that.
Yes.
Which is nice because he doesn't allow himself to have fun very much in the movies that he makes.
That's true. That's true.
He hasn't. That's the most fun that you get to have in his movies. That his stuff is so dark.
Yes.
That it was like, oh, this is funny. We're just enjoying ourselves right now. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. And I don't want to. I'm not going to spoil anything. But even Alan Arkin and John Goodman, all the way out in Hollywood, get their own unbelievably tense moment that is going to make you want to punch the person sitting next to you. You're like, I understand that movies are difficult to make.
Yes.
But basically that's it.
What else do we need to talk about Argo? Because I want to say something about facial hair, and I want to say something about cigarettes.
Can we include sideburns in facial hair?
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Anything that didn't exist until you were like at least 13 or 14, then it counts.
Then let's do it. There's nothing else to discuss. America, the world. There's nothing else to discuss about Argo. Let's move on to the facial hair.
First of all, I feel like it gives us everybody a great opportunity to have facial hair, and I think half the reason people like to do movies set in this period is they're like, I get to have a big old mustache, like just a big old mustache.
Sure.
Which is coming back into style, and that's unfortunate. Unfortunate. But the other thing that because no one smokes anymore. Like, people just don't smoke anymore. We grew up, when you and I were growing up, did your parents smoke?
Apparently my father did until around the time I was born, but I don't remember him ever smoking.
See, my parents were smokers. My parents were smokers. I remember them quitting. And then I remember my dad not so much quitting after he had quit, and then quitting, and then not quitting, and then quitting, and then not quitting.
Right.
But with my mom, like, I remember my mom and dad were smokers, and then they quit in the 80s, like 86 or something. They just were like, all of a sudden, they stopped smoking. But like, I grew up around smokers, but no one smokes anymore. And so anytime I'm watching movies and they're smoking, I'm always watching being like, oh, so you're a smoker. Like, because actors have to be able to smoke. Like, they have to. It's actually like something they have to be able to do, and then they have to but it's incredibly addictive. So apparently they just have to like delve into it. What other thing besides smoking would someone be like, well, here's a really addictive thing that you have to just commit to for the next couple of months, and then good luck weaning yourself off that. Like,
right.
Now you're not like
You've landed an extra position on, or an under 5 position on Breaking Bad. We're going to need you to become a meth addict.
Right.
Right. Because we have good makeup guys, but we just can't get the open sores right.
It's not the same. It
isn't. It's not the same. The one, America, I think smoking is a gross habit, but I don't judge people for doing it, really. But I have never smoked in my life because I have asthma, and it would be even stupider for me than for your average person. But I have smoked one cigarette in my life, and Phil, it goes directly to your point. It was for a movie that I was in.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I have never inhaled a cigarette.
I had to. So
Yeah.
I took a couple drags before we started filming, just so the
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
on camera. And then we did 2 takes of it, so probably 4 or 5 drags, and um, that's all I got. That's all I got. It's not.
Did you love it? Was it amazing? Were you like, I'm home? Welcome to Flavor Country, Population Andy.
I did. I was. I did become the Marlboro Man. I
For that
did.
moment. For that moment.
Yes.
Well, look at your. And then all of a sudden, a mug showed up in your hand, and it was shaped like a boot.
Hmm. Don't think I'm not doing as much product placement for this red boot as I possibly can. It's
I've
the
pointed
best
this
boot.
out to you before, but if you were wondering what color green my kitchen is, it's Del Taco green. Look at look at that. It's uncanny. It's uncanny. Wait, look. If I turn it to the side, the cup disappears.
Uh,
Oh my god, look at this.
YouTube disclaimer. Del Taco has not endorsed this podcast.
No, they have not. That's true. Del Taco has not endorsed, and nor do I endorse Del Taco necessarily, except that their
Sure.
egg burritos are delicious.
Okay.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
let's talk facial hair, and then let's move on to our second topic of the day.
I'm done with facial hair. I have nothing. It's fine.
Okay, no, that's fair.
Based
Bryan
on the
Cranston,
story.
sweet burns in this movie. I couldn't stop looking at the side of Bryan Cranston's head. Big
Yes,
fan.
agreed. Also, Kyle Chandler, Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights,
Oh,
just
right.
is up.
Just owning it for like 5 lines in the movie.
You can have your '70s fake hairdo, Kyle Chandler, but we all know you're amazing. You're fooling nobody.
It's true. It's true.
He's
That's
one of
true.
those people where like my wife has like a crush on him, and I don't even. I'm like, yeah, you should. You should have a crush on him. He's adorable.
I have a crush on him
Yes.
and his wife.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
I mean, come on.
I mean, come on.
Right.